Exodus 17:8-13. As long as Moses kept his hands raised up, Israel had the better of the fight. In those days, Amalek came and waged war against Israel. Moses therefore said to Joshua, "Pick out certain men and tomorrow go out and engage Amalek in battle. I will be standing on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand." So Joshua did as Moses told him. He engaged Amalek in battle after Moses had climbed to the top of the hill with Aaron and Hur. As long as Moses kept his hands raised up, Israel had the better of the fight, but when he let his hands rest, Amalek had the better of the fight. Moses' hands, however, grew tired, so they put a rock in place for him to sit on. Meanwhile Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. And Joshua mowed down Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Who was Amalek, and why should he attack Israel? Amalek was the grandson of Esau and the chief of the Amalekites. Jacob and Esau were brothers. Esau was the firstborn and thus entitled to become leader of the clan or family when his father Isaac died. As the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man who lived in the open, whereas Jacob was a simple man, who kept to his tents. Isaac preferred Esau, because he was fond of game, the animals he brought home to eat, but Rebekah preferred Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau came in from the open, famished. He said to Jacob, "Let me gulp down some of that red stuff, I'm starving." But Jacob replied, "First give me your birthright in exchange for it." "Look," said Esau, "I'm on the point of dying, what good will any birthright do me?" But Jacob insisted, "Swear to me first," so he sold Jacob his birthright under oath. Jacob then gave him some bread and the lentil stew, and Esau ate, drank, got up, and went his way. Esau cared little for his birthright. Clearly, Amalek carried a grudge against Jacob and the Israelites due to the enforcement of his father Esau's oath. The birthright itself gives a double portion of the father's estate to the firstborn son and the leadership of the clan. Esau gave up the birthright in order to obtain a bowl of stew. Just as Isaac was elevated over Ishmael, so was Jacob elevated over Esau, and Jacob then becomes the heir to the promises of the Abrahamic covenant. Esau was Isaac's favorite son, while Jacob was Isaac's wife Rebekah's favorite. The Amalekites were a nomadic people who domesticated camels to be used as weapons to raid their neighbors, attack enemies, protect their land and water. Today's reading describes Israel's first battle. They met the Amalekites at Rephidim. Joshua commanded the forces of Israel, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up on the mountain to pray. Moses had the rod of God in his hands. The Hebrews had been on the march from Egypt for only a few days when they met their first foe at Rephidim, in the southwest corner of the Sinai Peninsula, north of Mount Sinai. The battle may have been over water, since Rephidim was one of the few places where water was available, or, maybe Amalek's grudge. The Amalekites were fierce, determined, and experienced fighters used to defending themselves in the wild and dangerous wilderness. Today's reading tells us of the power of intercessory prayer. Moses is on top of a hill overlooking the battle. As he extends his hands, in a prayerful position, his people do well in battle. When Moses lowers his hands, the enemies, the Amalekites, do well. Have you noticed when we raise our hands in prayer, a sign that we recognize that God is in charge, problems seem to be diminished? When we don't pray regularly, more problems seem to enter our lives. Did you also notice that when Moses couldn't continue to hold his hands up, he asked for help? Have you also noticed the church community helps us at Mass with intercessory prayers for the intentions of our church and its members? Just like Moses, we can't do it on our own, we need help. With God's help and Moses' prayer, Joshua was able to save his people. Yes, prayer is powerful. We never know how God will answer our prayers, but we can expect that He will get us involved in His plan for the answer. If we are true intercessors, we must be ready to take part in God's work on behalf of the people for whom we pray. Corrie ten Boom. Corrie was a Dutch watchmaker who, along with intercessory prayer and action, helped many Jews escape the Nazi Holocaust during World War II.